everyone, hope you're doing well. I'm joined by Joe. It's the Gio and Joe show today from Albion Obsessed to take a look ahead to the game tomorrow and get his perspective from a Brighton's fan. Well, let's start with the usual, please, Joe. How's your season going?
It's been eventful. It really has. It doesn't feel like this season that we lost Graham Potter. It just feels like everything's been going on, and it doesn't feel like this season that we beat Man United 2-1 at Old Trafford. So it's been eventful, very eventful. But it's looking positive. It's looking like we can hopefully better last season. Obviously, last season we confirmed our best ever finish in the Premier League, actually against West Ham. So it was a very special day for us. It's just been crazy, mate. Roberto De Zerbi coming in. We never thought anyone could have us playing football better than Graham Potter could have us play. And Roberto De Zerbi's come in, and it's like watching Graham Potter's team on crack. So we absolutely adore it. Absolutely adore Roberto De Zerbi. Hopefully we're looking at a European place. But Liverpool picking up form, Newcastle dropping down the league. It's going to be really, really difficult. And we've got a few games in hand. So it's whether we can capitalise. And it's all in our hands. And when it's all in Brighton's hand, it goes wrong. So we're a bit nervous.
Let's talk about the managerial situation then. When you lost Potter, were you worried, or did you have just complete faith in Tony Bloom and Co that they'd get the appointment right? They know who they want and they'll go get him and it will work.
I don't think worried is the right word. I think gutted, because we had it really good. We'd just come off the back of a 5-2 win against Leicester. And I know this season Leicester haven't been amazing, and maybe people think, oh, well, that's not such an achievement. But Brighton scoring 5 goals with us being XG champions, that is an achievement. And we could see that a page had been turned because we were scoring the chances that we were creating. So I think it was more the timing of Graham Potter leaving was a bit of a sucker punch. But it was really important for us to bounce back as quickly as possible. And I've always got faith in Tony Bloom and our board that they're going to do the right thing. They've done the right thing at this football club since since Tony Bloom has been chairman. So I will always have faith. Maybe not appointing Sami Hyypiä, but that's a whole nother thing. But then getting Chris Hughton in to revitalise us and go on that promotion charge and to be where we are now, you have to have faith in them. Any Brighton fan that doesn't, or any Brighton fan that questions them, they really need to look at what they've done for us. They're only going to take us further.
Well, that's what's happened so far, but let's talk about what could happen next. I get the impression you're keeping your feet on the ground here. You're coming across as quite composed. So if I'm waiting to say to you a potential top 6 finish, I think I know what you're going to say. But not only that, is the FA Cup, or should the FA Cup be your priority? You've obviously got, I know anything can happen, but let's be real here. You've got a favourable draw in the quarterfinals and 1 game from Wembley. I mean, the FA Cup must be something that looks like a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, as Brighton fans, we always keep our feet on the ground or attempt to, especially of older generations, definitely. Like we were getting excited about drawing Grimsby in the cup, and a lot of people saying, it's not a sure thing. It's not a sure thing. You look at them; they're 16th or something in League Two, and we're still worried that they could do something. But they've beaten a Premier League side, and I know maybe Southampton aren't a very good example of a Premier League side at the moment, but they still had to beat them. They still had to get the penalties where they got the penalties and kill the game and defend resolutely. And you've seen that the magic of the FA Cup is very much still alive. It is, and you would be very silly to think that it's a 100% sure thing that Brighton are going to go to the semi-finals. But as you say, we have got a very good chance, and I think we're right to be excited by it as well. It seems as well history might be repeating itself, because 40 years ago we got to our first ever FA Cup final, 1983. Manchester United were still in the competition. We played them in the final. They're still in the competition now. We beat Liverpool on our route to get into that final. We beat Liverpool again this season. Everything seems to be shaping
aligned,
up.
Yeah.
So we're very sort of apprehensive, but it's looking promising, and even just another trip to Wembley. To be honest, I know maybe the shine takes it off a little bit with it being a semi-final. Is it as special for me? Yes, it is. Seeing your team walk out at Wembley, we saw us walk out at Wembley in 2019. We played Man City in the FA Cup semi-final, and probably could have got more out of that game, to be honest. Kyle Walker maybe should have been sent off. VAR didn't look at the headbutt on Jahanbash. They only beat us 1-0. And for the rest of the game, the game was on a knife edge. So maybe under Roberto De Zerbi, something could be different there, and the mentality can shift, and we can really go on and have the chance of getting a piece of major silverware, which would just be spine-tingling.
On this previews, we like to have a little bit of fun, some wild prediction stuff. So, FA Cup, are you going to win it?
No, we're not. We're going to have hopefully we're going to have a special day out, whether that be semi-final or the final. But with Manchester United and Man City still in the competition, and Fulham are doing really well. They beat us. So yeah, you would be silly to say yes, we will definitely win the FA Cup, but I think we could do something special. We could have some really good days out.
Top 6.
We might sneak 7th. That's what I'm holding on to. I'm holding on to, if we don't win the FA Cup, that would be either Man City or Man United win it, because they'll get top 4 this season, and then Europe extends to 7th place. I think that's our big chance of getting Europe. Obviously, yes, we're still in the FA Cup. That is as much of a chance as we're going to get Europe as well. But if we get knocked out of the FA Cup, I think Man City or United win it and we get 7th. But there's so many good teams fighting for that place. Brentford, Fulham doing so well. As I say, Liverpool picking up form now. So it's going to be a real fight and test for us.
Well, this is where it gets interesting. And you're talking about 7th, and that would obviously be because, for those that don't know, as Joe says there, if the winner of the FA Cup finishes in the top 6, and because Man United have won the Carabao Cup, 6th would then get Europa League, and 7th would get Europa Conference League, which is a competition that we West Ham are currently in. Do you want that? Do you want the Conference League competition? Because it's been sort of dismissed by some fans and whatnot.
Any European competition would be fantastic for Brighton and Albion Football Club. 25 years ago, we were on the brink of not existing. We were literally a point and a goal away from not existing as a football club anymore. Our ground was sold. We were sharing grounds with Gillingham. A lot of fans say, stop living in the past, stop living in the past. But you've got to remember where you've come from. And we've come from a really special place. I don't think many other clubs have the history that we've got. And it's really, really special. So any European competition, to see Lewis Dunk with that captain's armband on, leading us out, Europa League, Conference League, Champions League, whatever it is, it will be as special as any.
Happy days. I like it. I like the Conference League, by the way. I just know that it's sort of looked down upon from a lot of football fans, not just West Ham fans prior to entering it, but even now, to this day, there's still some West Ham fans who aren't keen on it. But there's plenty of, I call it football snobbery, if you like, towards the competition. That's not worth really much. It's just refreshing to hear somebody that does actually want to be in it as well. Looking ahead to the summer, and what you're hoping to see Brighton do, and also secondly, are you worried about losing your manager because he's been linked to Spurs and Chelsea again? If they sack Potter, they might come back to Brighton for your manager now. Would you be concerned about losing him? And also, I assume you're expecting Caicedo to go after he said goodbye to you at the end of January anyway.
Yeah. I think just on the Chelsea point, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results, and they keep coming in for whatever we're doing, expecting it to work exactly the same, and it's not. So if there are any hierarchy of Chelsea listening, it's not going to work. I'm just going to put you off Roberto De Zerbi for now. We want him. Get your hands off. Yeah, you're always worried if a club like us are doing so well in the Premier League. There's going to be admirers. There always is. And there comes a point where the money that's offered, the opportunity that's offered is far too good for them to turn down, and sometimes too good for us to turn down. Because, we're not rolling in it financially. We're doing really astute business to get us in a position where we can be competitive in the Premier League. And I think you have to be this way if you're a club like us. and selling players for 60 odd million pounds here, 50 million pounds there, asking for 90 million pounds for Caicedo. We've got a World Cup winner in the squad that might well leave as well. All of those things, even if they do happen, which we fully expect them to do, I'm not naive. If any of those things happen, we expect to bounce back from it. We always have, we always will. And whether it's another couple of months rebuild or a couple of years rebuild, our owners will get us back to where we deserve to be. And we deserve to be at the top end of the Premier League for years to come, because we've done things the right way. And it's really promising and so refreshing to watch us do what we are doing. And the fact that other clubs want that's the biggest compliment.
Good answer. I like that answer. That's a good one. Last question on your team before we discuss my team. If West Ham fans are watching this, they've not seen Brighton play very recently. Which players would you say are in form? Who should we be looking out for tomorrow afternoon?
Evan Ferguson, a young lad who's come in, sort of came in just before the new year, scored against Arsenal and has been a massive part of the squad since then. We knew his potential. We've seen him bagging in Premier League 2 for months and maybe even years. So he's really promising. We've got Solly March coming back, who's been in the form of his life this season. And of course, you've got to talk about Kaoru Mitoma. The guy can rip defenses to shreds and is a real threat. Probably one of the best wingers in the Premier League at the moment on form. And I think you have to mention him, Lewis Dunk, just hitting 400 appearances for Brighton of Albion. The guy is just a stalwart at the back, and not much gets past him. I'm sure a lot of West Ham fans have watched Lewis Dunk when we played against them, and I don't know what they think of him, but he always puts in a shift for us. And we've got so many good players coming through. We've got Enciso, the young Paraguayan. Buonanotte has just come in from Argentina. And they're all looking really promising. Obviously, Caicedo as well. I could list the whole squad. That's how well we're doing, and that's how promising our squad is at the moment. That I missed out a World Cup winner in that. So we're looking good. We're looking promising, and I think anyone that underestimates us will do themselves a disservice.
Oh, there's none of that from West Ham fans. Don't you worry. There's nobody underestimating Brighton at the minute, especially when we've got a 0% win rate against you. There's no reason to underestimate you. What's your thoughts on West Ham then?
It's just been a weird one for you guys this season. Obviously, Moyes has done, I think, a really good job up until now. And it's a weird one because I don't really know what's happened. Is it Mark Noble retiring? Has he got that much of an effect on the dressing room that as soon as he's gone, things are looking down? I really don't understand it, because you have got on paper a really good squad, and you shouldn't be where you are, especially with like Declan Rice, people like that. And it's really weird. Whenever we play West Ham, I do expect a really difficult game, even though, as you say, the record, but I never sit there and say, oh yeah, we'll get something 100%, because I'm not that positive of a person. But it's a strange one, because I've not really watched you guys this season that much. I will be honest, except for the game against us earlier on in the season. So yeah, I guess I'll throw the question to you: what has gone wrong?
A bit of everything, really. I think it depends who you speak to. I think there's a few things. We've had a lot of changes in the summer. That's certainly what the manager keeps pointing to as to why it hasn't worked for us this season. It's a transition season. It's not really something I've always seen evidence of when watching us play. I thought, well, now we're playing the same way we have done generally for the last couple of years, which worked. We've been found out now, and you fail to evolve the tactics. And it's very difficult for a manager to reinvent himself. I always think managers have a shelf life, and the top managers will supersede that. They will go beyond that shelf. They will continue to evolve. They will continue to adapt, to bring in staff, bring in new tactics and stuff. And that's what makes them top managers. The rest of them, it doesn't mean they're bad managers. It just means they're good managers for a period of time. And then the game goes away with them when they fail to keep up the game, whatever reasons. And I think Moyes have done as long as he has done in the Premier League, from Everton till today, is a fantastic achievement. But every time he has a break, I feel he goes away, I wouldn't say reinvents himself as a manager, but he's certainly comes back as a different type of manager, certainly different tactics and stuff, and he needs that time. A bit like Eddie Howe's done it. You know, when he left Bournemouth, he went away to Spain, learned under Simone, came back, and you can see a little bit of that in Newcastle now. You can see a little bit of Atletico Madrid's defensive stuff in that side, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I think Moyes did that when we got rid of him before he came back in that period. You know, Moyes has spoken about, he went away, he tried to reinvent himself. He worked with UEFA, went to major tournaments. He was scouting for UEFA, essentially. I can't remember exactly what the job title is, but he sits there, a technical advisor or something. He sits there, studies the game, studies the tactics, looks at the new roles of players. The inverted fullback is probably the newest one today, what we're seeing creeping up here and there. You're doing it. You do it now with with Pascal Gross will start fullback. Perhaps he'll then start tucking into midfield and making a three in there. So that's the new one. And I remember reading something when Moyes came back, he was speaking about like the inverted winger, and I thought it's not that new, but fair enough. And I just think he got found out a little bit. The last couple of games still have been promising. We have been better. I think we've got a bit of a new formation again. It looks more like a 4-3-3 to me, which isn't really something we've done at all under David Moyes, bar the past two games. So can he evolve once more? I'm not sure, because I would suggest that anytime Moyes has done it, it's come after a period out of the game. He's gone away and he's done his own thing, then come back in the game and gone again. So I think I don't actually think there's just one simple thing, Joe. I think there's a combination of quite a few things, from the manager, the boardroom, the players on the pitch. Has Declan Rice struggled being the captain? We can only judge what we've seen. It would imply that it hasn't been a smooth transition from Martin Noble to Declan Rice, but we don't know. We don't know what goes on behind the scenes. So I think there's far too many things that's gone wrong, if you like. It's about getting out of it now. Do you think we will? Do you think we'll get relegated? I know you haven't seen much of us, so you can only judge by what you've seen. But it's not just West Ham. It's also what have you seen of Southampton, of Leeds, of Bournemouth, of Nottingham Forest, all that as well. Who do you think's going down at this point, if you had to guess?
Yeah, it's not West Ham. It can't be West Ham.
Why is that? Just because you think we're too good to go down?
I think you are too good, and I think you are probably lucky that there are teams that are doing really bad. Like I think Southampton have been due to get relegated for a while. They've been sort of flirting with the fact that, you know, they hadn't. We're talking back years, but when they got rid of Van Dijk and Mane and people like that, they hadn't reinvented themselves. And for Saints fans, that must be gutting, because it does look like they're doomed. Leeds, you never know, because it's like one week they'll win 6-0, the next week they'll lose 4-0, and it's a really interesting one with Leeds. But I think West Ham and David Moyes, they're too good. They know the Premier League too much to get relegated this time round. And as you say, if it's a rebuild, they need to rebuild fast, because next season's only going to get more difficult. And you know, especially with the likes of us doing so well, Fulham doing so well, we're going to strengthen in the summer, hopefully, and be an even bigger force to come, even if we do like lose Caicedo and stuff like that. So in terms of relegation, I think it'll be probably Southampton, Bournemouth, and I'd probably say, who's the next one? Leeds. Yeah.
I'll take that. I won't be complaining if you're correct. Right, tomorrow afternoon, how do you see this game going?
Well, you've got Danny Ings, and he always scores against us. So whether the Danny Ings hoodoo or the Brighton hoodoo, if they clash, it's probably going to be a stalemate, isn't it? So I'm hoping it's positive for us, because we need to get back to winning ways in the Premier League if we want to continue our charge for European football. But as I say, it will be a really tough game. But I think we will edge it. I think we'll win 2-1.
Excellent, Joe. Well, thank you very much for joining me. Massively appreciate it. You guys at home have enjoyed the video. Please do drop a like on it by clicking thumbs out. It helps the channel out. If you're new to Hammers Chat, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you want to hear more from Joe and his co-mates over on the Albion Obsessed podcast, the link is in the description below. Head over there. You can hear what they've got to say ahead of and after the match at the weekend as well. Catch you in a bit.